Behind the Wealth Show. I'm your host, Roger Abel. Got Elias back with me today. And before we started airing the show, we were talking a little bit about, like becoming lazier in retirement.
Yeah.
And how that isn't it kind of the goal to slow down and be a little lazier, but maybe not. Why did that come up? I was out of the room and I walked in and you were talking about being lazy in retirement. How did that come up?
Oh, well, this MSN article, the rule of 1,000 hours in retirement. They say that people spend about 1,000 hours annually on time that is considered, in some people's opinion, high quality. So hobbies, passions, traveling, volunteering. I don't really like the article, to be honest with you. I don't know why. Because it's like they're complaining, oh, people should spend more time doing meaningful things in retirement. The day I retire, if someone ever makes a comment to me that I'm too lazy now, I'm going to be like, that's my choice. Like, why would you care about my level of effort and laziness? And this, like, okay, leisure time says people spend like 5 hours a day in leisure time. Sounds pretty good to me.
That's kind of the point. Now, some people want to keep improving and all those different things.
I get that, but that's in general, people, especially Americans, are way too focused on that. You don't need to be productive every hour of the day to have a fulfilling life.
Here's what happens. People want to be an expert at something, right? Like, I'm going to get good at this, gardening or whatever. And they think about, and this is what this article is talking about. If you wanted to be an expert at something in retirement, you have 1,000 hours a year you're wasting. That's what it's really talking about. All right. And they're pulling it from Malcolm Gladwell's book called Outliers, the Story of Success. And in that book, Malcolm Gladwell suggests that you need 10,000 hours of anything to be an expert. And I don't know if you got
in retirement, it'll take you 10 years.
10 years to be an expert. So to your point, are you trying to be an expert at something? Or are you trying to just enjoy your time? I thought it was just a funny article because it's talking about making the most of your 1,000 hours. I'll be honest, in retirement, I think making the most of your 1,000 hours should be doing exactly what you want to do. If I want to surf the web all day long, and if I want to go sit in my tree stand all day long, or I want to fish all day long, or if I just want to drink coffee all day long.
You know what this reminds me of? You ever heard the story of the fisherman? And then there's a story where there's a very successful businessman who, builds up a business, sells it for millions and millions of dollars, and then moves somewhere where he can fish every day and becomes friends with a person who never did any of those other things, but just spent his whole life fishing every day. So whose way is right? Whose way is wrong? That's not for me to decide. Both those people picked the path and lived it. I don't care what they did with their 1,000 hours. Sorry to be so crusty. I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I think what the real article is about is, hey, if you have some dreams, passions, desires, you're probably wasting a whole bunch of time. You should go do it.
Yeah, you're also 60 some years old.
What we like to have people do, though, is start thinking about things well in advance of retirement. And we came up with 9 things that you should be thinking about or stop doing 5 years before you actually retire. And one of the biggest things I notice with retirees, not all, but ones who have done better than average savings, better than average net worth, they actually don't know where they're spending their money. And it's never been a problem because they're out earning their money. They're making more money than they're spending. But I think when you're looking at retiring and transitioning from this accumulation stage, where you might have a higher than average income, to the distribution phase, if you don't have a handle on where your money's going, that can lead to some serious problems.
So you're saying I should know how much I'm spending?
You should know where it's going.
We need to at least establish a baseline, right?
Doesn't mean you can't go outside of it, but let's come up with a game plan. Because if you outspend to the tune of a 10% distribution every year, that probably is not going to work.
Maybe, maybe not. And what can you do after you have a handle on your spending? Then what can you do? What are the next steps after that?
Well, once you know what you're going to spend, now we can start building out that plan and making sure your goals align with the resources you have. Ultimately, getting somebody to that risk capacity number. How much risk do you need to take to actually accomplish your goals? Compare that to their risk tolerance and figure out how to blend the two together. So that's one thing people should stop doing 5 years before retirement. Here's the second thing. Stop accumulating stuff.
I love that one.
I wish I'd stop accumulating stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm so sick of stuff.
Are you out of room in your house? We talked about your house.
I don't want people complaining to me about my leisure time, and I want less stuff.
Less stuff. Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Are you mentioned you and your spouse are considering moving, said on a couple of shows. Is that driver because you're out of space? Because you have too much stuff? Or is it you're just trying to get closer to the school you guys are going to?
It's a location. There's a desired location.
I met with a family yesterday that they want to live on the same street as their grandkids. They live 5 minutes away by car, but she wants to move on the same street so the grandkids can ride their bike to their house. And I said, is this a money decision? Like, what is it? Is it you're worried about going up your second floor of stairs? She goes, no, it's just purely location. I want to be right there. It's by a park. That's really popular.
Grandma wants to be right there.
Yeah.
Good for her.
But a lot of people keep accumulating stuff. And it's easy to accumulate stuff today with, when you think about it, you've got Amazon and all of these marketing campaigns targeting you digitally. It's easy to get stuff. I just got a whole bunch more stuff yesterday that I probably didn't need. But Kuyu, which is a outdoor clothing brand, had a 50% off sale. So of course I'd need a few jackets and some sweatshirts. And so
is this a Facebook ad?
It's on my screen right now. I've already ordered, and I already ordered more than I need, but it's playing on my screen right now. 44% off a vest I like.
Hey, 44% off. That's a great deal.
I saved money by spending money. No, but stop accumulating stuff, because ultimately you're going to have to find, one, a place to put it, and two, when something happens to you, your kids are going to have to deal with all this stuff. And stuff isn't really what makes you happier. It's just it's just things we're prone to buy because we're getting marketed to. I didn't need any more new hunting clothing. 0. But I have a whole new set because I don't have that color or that new jacket. And it was 50% off.
I mean, the deer care about the colors you're wearing.
Okay. At least they've sold that to us. It's been sold to us.
You're going to wear that new outfit and you are going to get a trophy buck. That's what's going to happen.
And I hope so. I'm going to get a good picture if I get it.
That's what will happen.
The third thing you should think about, stop doing 5 years before retirement. And this is one that is put out there by a CEO of something called Wealth Ramp. But she says, stop investing like you're still 35. And I may or may not argue with that. You know, if you're 5 years before retirement, you may be able to invest like you're 35, but you might not be able to. And the only way someone can determine how they should be investing for an optimal outcome is by quantifying their risk capacity. It's the only way it can be done.
Yeah, I would need more information about someone before I would tell them you're investing like you're still 35. Some people want to own growth assets, and they have the risk tolerance and risk capacity to do it. So who am I to tell them you shouldn't invest out? And people in the investment business are really good at telling people, oh, now it's time to be more conservative.
Here's the one that gets me when someone, they have a portfolio that's 50% stock, 50% bonds. They made 10, 11, 12% the last 12 months. The market's up 20 and they're disappointed. Like that happens.
We can fix that.
That's why I had this happen the other day with someone. I'm like, you have 50% of your money in the stock market. You're not going to outperform it. I said, but if you want to be more aggressive, you sure can. But right now, I'm definitely noticing people are feeling FOMO. They're feeling the fear of missing out. They've seen 3 years of rocket gains in the stock market. And if they haven't been fully invested, they feel like they should be getting in. I had the individual I just met with, I had an email from another guy who said, hey, I might want to talk about making my portfolio more aggressive. I'm retiring next year. I'm like, that's out of left field, but okay. But what it is, they see this rocket ship and they want to jump on it, but they didn't want to jump on it in 2020 and 2021 and 2022.
And we were talking about it. That's a great question for you. Gone 3 years. Like where were you 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago, you could have done it at an optimal time. And this actually leads to the number 4 thing you should stop doing 5 years before retirement. You stop emotional investing. You shouldn't be making decisions based upon gut reactions and what you think. You should be making decisions on investing based upon your goals, your income needs, your priorities in retirement, and then matching those up with risk capacity like we talked about. Number 5, stop taking debt.
Can I add something for the emotional investing?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think to go along with this theme of emotional investing, making portfolio decisions based on your political beliefs and your political outlook. There are people in line with this idea of engaging in emotional investing. I think one of the biggest emotional decisions people have made the last couple of years is portfolio decisions based on political outlook and political leanings. And I would assume there's been people that have underperformed because their expectation was making portfolio decisions because they don't like the administration. And it was the same thing. You go back 5 and 6 years ago. It's never a good time to make portfolio decisions based on politics. And a lot of people are doing that nowadays. So I wanted to add that in with the emotional investing number 4 topic. And then you were going to go into taking on debt as number 5.
Yeah, number 5, there's no reason to take on debt before 5 years into retirement. I think the people need to realize that debt is just added risk in retirement. If you make a bad money mistake once you're retired, it's hard to recover from it. So I'd really take a strong look at not taking on debt 5 years before retirement, unless it's going to be retired debt by the time you're done. Right? If you bought a house, let's say you bought a new condo, it costs a little bit more than the house you just sold, you're downsizing. You put it on a 5-year note. Okay, that's great. It's paid off by the time you retire. But the thought of having interest and debt payments throughout your retirement, I don't think that's optimal for what you're looking to do. And it really leads into the 6th thing. And the 6th thing is ignoring debt. If you have debt, we need to really have a strategy. Are we paying it down or what are we doing?
When it comes to debt, it's not just the numbers and the interest rate. And if transitioning into retirement without debt is going to help you feel more financial freedom and more peace of mind, I don't think you can, like you just said, keep taking on debt or ignore the debt that you have. It does need to be addressed.
Elias, number 7, should stop delaying Social Security decisions. One of the things you want to start thinking about as you get closer, and I wouldn't say 5 years because a lot of things can change over 5 years, but if you're within a year or 2 years of retiring, we need to start thinking about what is the plan for Social Security. Do we have a plan? What are our goals for Social Security? What do we want it to accomplish? Are we trying to protect a larger check? Or are we just trying to get the most out of it? There's just so many moving parts. You need to start laying out a Social Security game plan, for lack of better terms.
I think you may at least want to discover the potential options and be educated on what those will be and the potential impacts. 5 years away from retirement, you're not crossing that bridge, but can you prepare a little bit for that bridge so you're more prepared to make the decision when it comes time? I think so.
The next one I actually think is very, very important. It's overlooking tax planning. And people will argue back and say, well, why would I start doing retirement tax planning if I'm 5 years away? One of the things people forget is that 401k that you have, or that IRA that hasn't been taxed, can become a large tax liability down the road. And it may make sense to change where you're putting your contributions, so the location of them. It may even be a situation where you want to start doing Roth conversions 15 years before mandatory distributions start kicking in. And a lot of that planning starts earlier than when you retire.
Is it safe to say it's not too early to plan?
Here's what I would tell you. If you started planning when you got your first job, and it wouldn't even have to be a master plan, just a general, like very simple plan.
Some basic.
You're going to win. Most of the time, you're going to win. And it's really simple stuff. It's automatic ACH of your investment program. Dude, even if it was $25 a week and you started when you were 22, that's going to add up over time. But I think the other thing that happens when you start planning early, you start to develop habits. Once you start saving, it actually becomes fun. I think so many people look at it in the beginning as, man, I've just got to give up my lifestyle, save some money for 40 years down the road. I don't know if I'll ever even make it to retirement. Just all the excuses, right? Once you get a little money, you get some critical mass, and you start to see it grow, it becomes a whole lot easier to throw more and more money at it. It's almost, you know what it almost reminds me of, Elias? The reverse of the debt snowball. No, it's like the equity snowball. The more you get, the more you want to put into it because it's fun to watch it grow, even though most of the growth at some point is not from your contributions. It's from contributions you made forever ago and continue to compound. It just gets easier to do it. And I take it from my own experience. It's a lot easier for me today to say, hey, I want to save more than it was 15 years ago. And I'm sure a function of it is I have more capital, but it's actually more fun to watch now. I'm guilty. I get on every morning. I check my account balance every morning. I don't make decisions based upon that.
You do? You check your account balances every morning?
Yeah.
Really?
But I don't make trading decisions on it.
Yeah.
What I will do is I'll make contribution decisions. So if there's a ETF I have or some other investment that's, went down, I may decide, hey, I'm going to throw an extra chunk of money at that.
I gotcha.
Yeah, but I don't ever look at it and say, oh, man, I got to make a change. The only thing I know I can do well is add money. I'm not good at timing when to sell, but I can have a fair chance of timing when to buy.
You can add more.
Elias, here's the reason I check every day. I do exactly what I tell the listeners to do. I invest money every single week. I have an ACH that comes out on the Monday of every single week. And I actually have 3 other ACHs, one that comes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm putting money in almost every single day. They're for different amounts. One of my ACHs just goes to cash. And then my larger one, and then I pick what I'm going to buy for the week. And it's same stuff listeners are buying. Like, it's boring investments, but I like to press the button and make the buy. So in essence, I'm contributing 4 days a week. Yeah, I have 4 ACHs.
Wow.
It's the best dollar cost averaging you could ever do.
Of course you do.
Yeah. Why wouldn't I? The ninth thing and the last thing, probably one of the most important things you shouldn't ignore and should really start thinking about before you retire is your health. And really, you should start this immediately. But neglecting your health, it's detrimental to your longevity. It can be detrimental to your financial future. If I quiz people and say, hey, do you believe your insurance cost when you retire is, I shouldn't say insurance, your healthcare related expense when you retire will be more or less if you're healthy? The overwhelming answer is the healthier I am, the less it's going to cost.
Health is wealth, as they say.
And there will be a point in time, regardless of what you do, you're probably not going to be able to make yourself any healthier.
Could be when you're 70, could be when you're 80.
But most people who are
Could be when
5
you're
years away, they still
95.
have the opportunity to make themselves healthier if they wanted to. Like they could go for a walk, change their diet. But, once you hit in your 70s, it's pretty tough to say, hey, I'm going to go get a lot healthier because energy levels are down. I mean, you may or may not be mobile anymore. If you can't exercise, it's pretty hard to get healthier. Diet alone won't do it. People think it will. It won't. You have to exercise to get actually healthier and get that heart health going as well.
Health is wealth. I think a lot of people would trade their wealth to be as healthy as possible. So
I 100% agree.
should be something to keep in mind.
Hey, real quick, we did have one listener question this week, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to throw this. I'm going to give you a layup. Listener question: can you explain the rule of 55? I am looking at retiring early, and I have heard about it before, but I'm not sure how it works or if it applies to me.
Few things to keep in mind. It's your employer. Does their employer plan allow this? You have to be there working when you're 55 to start it. But it's a provision that 401k plans can adopt to allow distributions without the 10% IRS penalty above the income tax that you're going to owe anyway.
Elias, that's exactly how it works. I have a good little story about this, actually. So I had a client who retired from a local manufacturing place here in Cedar Rapids, and I want to say went at 56 or 57. And one of the things we did, they had a really nice interest-bearing account in there, and just like anybody else, we created a bucket strategy for him. But what we did is we actually created a bucket strategy within that rule of 55. So we layered up 4 years of expenses, I believe is what it was, left that in the interest-bearing account at the employer, so he had the ability to access what he needed every single year, rolled over the remaining part because he wanted some different growth options in there. We rolled over the remaining part, had access to all that when he was 59 and a half, and it worked really well for this consumer. Had he rolled over the full amount, he wouldn't have been able to utilize the rule of 55. And I think that is the takeaway. If you are retiring, you have to retire at that job, and you need to leave your 401k there, or at least a portion. Some employers require that if you want to use rule of 55, you withdraw the whole amount. There's an employer in this town that requires that you do it that way.
There's no discretion to the amount. If you use rule 55, it's a total distribution.
This one employer in town.
Most employers, just one plan.
Yeah, most employers will allow you to do it. And sometimes they want you to do like one distribution a year and not a monthly. The employer we did this with, we did a monthly distribution, but I called for another individual at a different employer and they said it has to be a full distribution if you want to use Rule of 55. Which shocked me because that
eliminates the purpose of it.
100%.
Which,
unless you have a small account balance.
Yeah, and I guess, right, if you have a small account balance, might not matter. I mean, even if you took enough to cover for 5 years, call it, because you have to be 59 and a half.
It's going to blow you into a different income tax bracket. And not only that.
Yeah, it still kind of messes up the whole point of it.
They also require that you take that you withhold 20%. So you might be in a 10%, you might have a 10 or 12% effective tax rate, right? But they're making you withhold 20, which means you actually have to take more out of it.
And you're going to get a huge tax return.
If you're considering doing a Rule of 55 distribution, just consult with an advisor, have them help you do it. Your financial advisor would help you walk through this option, make sure what's offered by your employer works for your situation. And it's a really great way to access the funds if you want to retire before 59 and a half and you don't have a bridge account or a brokerage account or some other way to kind of bridge that gap, and you don't want to do a 72T, which is a different way around the Rule of 55. With that said, if anybody is looking for help understanding the Rule of 55, or you need help with your financial plan, please feel free to reach out to us at btwellshow.com or click the link in the description. We'd be happy to get the information for that to you. Once again, I want to thank everybody for listening, and hopefully you tune in next week.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure profit or protect against loss. Dollar cost averaging involves continuous investment in securities regardless of fluctuations in price levels. Investors should consider their ability to continue purchasing through periods of low price levels. Such a plan does not assure a profit and does not protect against loss in declining markets. A plan participant leaving an employer typically has 4 options and may engage in a combination of these options, each choice offering advantages and disadvantages. Those options include leave the money in their former employer's plan if permitted, roll over the assets to their new employer's plan if one is available and rollovers are permitted, roll over to an IRA, or cash out the account value. Consult your tax professional about eligibility to Roth and traditional IRA contributions. Contributions and earnings in a Roth IRA can be withdrawn without paying taxes and penalties if the account owner is at least 59 and a half and has held their Roth IRA for at least 5 years. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of the conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA.